Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with the season finale of season 4 of the F124 Ferrari driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. If you missed out on the video that went live earlier on this week from Qatar, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. I can reveal, obviously, spoilers for that video, that we do go into this final race with a championship decider between ourselves and Max Verstappen. We have a 13-point buffer over the Red Bull man as we head into this one. For us to wrap up the world title, we just need a podium. Or even we could get P4 with fastest lap, and irrespective of what Verstappen does, we will walk away with the crown there. The Dutchman, he needs to basically win this. He needs a podium if I get a mechanical failure or something like that in the final round of the season. You can see Ferrari, we've already wrapped up the Constructors' Championship. There are 5 points in it between McLaren and Red Bull, though, in the battle for that crown. Further down the order, though, it's actually looking fairly clear-cut for a lot of drivers until you get down to Oscar Piastri, Hamilton, and Sergio Perez. So both Red Bulls this weekend are in a fight in the championship. One of them, admittedly, is for P1. The other is for P8, which, yeah, it certainly has not been Sergio Perez's best year in the sport. But with all speculation and rumours about where we're going for next season, Charles Leclerc apparently might be leaving Ferrari as well. Hamilton might call it time on his Formula 1 career as well. There is still a lot to be decided once the season is done and dusted. But we've been trying to battle for over the 5 months inside F124 to finally get ourselves into a position where we can win a Formula 1 world title. So let's go out there, let's enjoy this final round, and finally bring glory back to Maranello.
Welcome to qualifying. It is time to have some laps at the limit in Abu Dhabi.
Well, I forgot to mention in the intro, but of course, if you guys aren't already, please do make sure you get yourself subscribed to the channel. We're trying to hit 140k by the end of the year, but whoa, hello. That's not an ideal way to start qualifying, I'll be honest, and immediately we've gone and put ourselves in a bit of trouble. So we'll try and get the car back around. There goes the wing before I've even started my first lap in Q2. I was more worried about the engine wear there. What engine component? The ICE is looking pretty worn. So we might have to replace that before we go into the GP as well. I was going to start talking normally in qualifying, but immediately I appeared to have bottled it. Well, I was going to talk about how this weekend the plan is to do pretty much the bare minimum I have to try and make sure that we walk away with the world title. And I tell you what, McLaren, once again, might be an ally on the circuit here. Max Verstappen, he's looking pretty racy, but so are those two McLaren cars. And of course, even if just one of them can beat him, it suddenly means rather than having to try and finish P3, we only suddenly need to finish about P7 here, which seems a lot more plausible. We have taken back-to-back pole positions in the last couple of races, but I'm not expecting this circuit to suit our car anywhere near as much as Qatar and Vegas did, so we might have already celebrated our last win in red this season last weekend. But that being said, of course, if there is a chance to win, then obviously we are going to take it.
Drop to P15.
Well, I've certainly ended up making Q2 a lot more stressful for myself than I ever intended to, but purple through that middle sector, of course, dominated by those two straights as we navigate our way then in through Sector 3 under the hotel that even 15 years on still feels and looks futuristic. This track, yeah, certainly an odd one. But yeah, it does, you know, it's not where I'd host a championship finale, but it is starting to feel a little bit special in Formula 1. We only end up P7, though, after that first run. We haven't got enough time to go again, so we've got to really hope other drivers don't improve. Well, the first panic of the weekend then averted for us there. George Russell ends up in P1 ahead of Verstappen and Lando Norris there. We only end up in P7 as Leclerc, Stroll and Hamilton all failed to see Q3 then in what has, yeah, just been a horrible year for all three of them. But yeah, Verstappen, he looks to be in the fight at the front. Can we try and find a half a second deficit? I'm pretty certain I have got a spare ICE in the pool, so we shouldn't have to take a grid penalty as we head into Grand Prix Sunday here. But as we make our way then out to our first Q3 run, yeah, my Q2 lap time, we did leave a bit of time on the table. I just wanted to make sure that we got the lap nailed. Now it's time to try and kind of put it all on the line as best as we can. But that being said, here in Abu Dhabi, it's not an easy track to get a lap nailed. I find we're pretty good in Sector 1 and Sector 2. It's Sector 3 where we really seem to struggle, and the AI seem to absolutely come alive. Those McLarens look all conquering around this circuit. Of course, Lando Norris took the win for them here last year, but ultimately it didn't really lead to the championship challenge that I think that team were hoping for. Both drivers have been quick and consistent, hence why they're still battling with Red Bull in the Constructors. But that's kind of been as much about Perros being terrible as it has been about both their drivers being pretty quick. Will they snooker a move, though, for us next year? Or will we go to Mercedes? Those are still the big two questions. As we go purple through Sector 2, open up the car, nice and tidy on the exit as we navigate our way in through these final few corners once again. Just want to try and get a nice lap time on the board. Something we can chase with our last-ditch qualifying run here in Anger in our Ferrari car. I would assume top times are around a low 1 minute 21, but one more corner to try and navigate then. What is the time gonna be? It is a 21.2. We go P3 behind the McLarens, but ahead of Alonso and Verstappen. And that apparently is going to be all she wrote. Underfloor damage. I had no idea that we'd pick that up then in towards the end of the session. I mean, we might be able to go back out there. I don't... But yeah, we can't do it. We can't even go back out there whilst the car's damaged. So P3 is going to be the best we're going to end up here. 0.02 of a second behind Lando Norris so far. But I cannot believe how odd this qualifying has been to kickstart the season finale. Well, I've got no idea whether the track conditions kind of fell away towards the end of the session or what happened there, but seemingly no one else really went out or was able to improve by the end of qualifying. So luckily, first panic has been averted. And I mean, Verstappen, if he finishes P4 or lower, we've wrapped up the world title anyway. He qualifies P5. There's a very good chance that we are in prime position already. Let's do this thing, though, for the final time this season. We're ready for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
It's time then for one final race in this year's Formula One World Championship. 2010 saw 4 drivers in contention for the title coming into this race, with Sebastian Vettel prevailing to become the youngest world champion to date. Is the one last sting in the tail awaiting us today? It's time to find out in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We have 16 corners here at Yas Marina Circuit, 7 to the right and 9 to the left. It's a total lap distance of 3.28 miles, 2 long straights and overtaking opportunities throughout the lap. And we expect average lap speeds of around 123 miles per hour. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Firestarter, Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, Gasly, Perez, Ocon, Sainz, Leclerc, Stroll, Verstappen, Ricciardo, Oscar Piastri, Joe, Vesti, Hamilton, Hulkenberg, Albon and Ollie Behrman. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway.
This championship is still alive and there's still a chance we can win it, so get out there and bring the title home, come on!
Well, Mark trying to hype us up as well, but with Verstappen grid penalties, this weekend just gets even weirder. It's like neither of us want to try and win the world title so far, but we line up 9 positions ahead of the Dutchman, and we've only got to finish somewhere between 2 and like 6 positions behind him. It might not be over just yet, though. Anything can happen here in Abu Dhabi, and Verstappen, he will want to try and get the elbows out as well. It's 5 red lights down on the grid. And for the final time of this season, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix gets underway there. We actually get off to a fairly good start, so does Alonso. How many times have I said that, though? Down in towards someone. There was actually contact between him and Pierre Gasly, I believe. The Haas driver will move up into P4 temporarily, or slot back into P5. But just like last weekend, I'm happy just to work with the McLaren cars here. Like I said, the big thing for me, I just don't want a mechanical failure. If we end up with a mechanical failure and there's some kind of chicanery with this race that allows Verstappen to get right back up to the top, I'm going to be fairly upset. They still have memories, for those of you that have been around the channel for a while, of the final ever race we did on F123. We had a title fight against literally the man in front of us, Lando Norris, and I believe Max Verstappen. A three-way scrap heading to Brazil. We were following Norris. We wouldn't, if we made the move, it would have been enough to win the world title. And then like 9 laps in, we had a mechanical failure and it completely ruined everything from that season finale. I'm hoping that isn't going to be the case this season. I'm hoping that at the very least we're going to be able to get to the checkered flag and at least kind of control my own destiny. This Ferrari car has been reliable over the course of the campaign, but still, Vegas sticks in the mind in recent races there. But as we make our way to the end of lap 1, once again, it's going to be George Russell that leads the way for that McLaren team. Oh, we've got yellows. We've got yellows already. Someone's day is coming to an end. I believe that might be Pierre Gasly. We've got a red flag.
No overtaking, please. We'll see you in the pit lane. There's been an incident on track, but officials aren't looking to push for a safety car right now. Just be careful.
Well, I'm really hoping we don't end up with another glitch like we did back in Brazil. But a red flag almost immediately here in Abu Dhabi. And I couldn't see anyone off the road or slowing down. Not too sure what to make of that one. And that's going to really affect things. And suddenly the team have absolutely flipped the strategy on its head. They want us to try and take the hard tyres throughout the entire rest of the afternoon. I'm not convinced they're going to make it that far, but I think if everybody else is going for it, then so do we. Right, let's see what we can do though. 5 red lights once again down on the grid. And once more here in Abu Dhabi, it is going to be lights out and away we go. I don't believe we've ever had a red flag around this venue, and that time round off the hard tyres, we don't get as good a start down in towards turn 1 there. Lando Norris will immediately trying to look for a run on his teammate. Fernando Alonso will just try and close up on. I think that has worked out quite nicely though for Verstappen as well. Alonso almost locks up and makes contact with me. Yeah, I think Verstappen have made up quite a few spots off that initial start there, so he's already up into, I believe, the top 10 here, as we will try and move back into our P3 position. As here goes Norris and Russell. They're going to be 2 by 2 on the brakes in towards the next chicane there. Will Alonso be able to hook it up on me? We'll try and go for the switch back on the exit. As those McLarens, yeah, clearly want to put on a show. They haven't really got anything to lose this weekend in that fight, apart from obviously in the Constructors' title. Alonso, though, wants to make it 3 wide. Immediately decides maybe that's not such a wise idea. And, well, I just want to try and stay out of trouble here, lads. You know, have your fight, but please don't let me get involved there, as Russell and Norris still side by side down in towards the final sector there. Who's going to get out on top of this one? Norris there gets down the inside. I mean, Alonso and I just having to sit and watch as the Aston Martin there just bobbles over the curb. And we will end up in P3. So after all of that, your top 4, top 5 even, exactly as they were. Here we go, Lando Norris again, this time to the outside of George Russell. They make their way down the back straight. I mean, these two, early on, I mean, they both want to try and get a win. They both want to end the year on a high. And yeah, well, it's been a very topsy-turvy year for McLaren. Maybe they both know they're fighting for their seat as well. As, I mean, we got the power, we'll go for it, won't we? Down the inside of the pair of them, though, off of the corner. And up into the lead, then, of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. This would definitely be enough to win the world title. I tell you what, I got no idea what McLaren are doing between their two drivers. Clearly, they have allowed them to take the gloves off this weekend, but it is working beautifully for us early on. We've already got a 2.5 second lead over George Russell and Lando Norris, and well, if they're going to keep going side by side, we're going to keep trying to build up that gap. I believe that's Verstappen then, or up into 8th place at the moment. So he has very quickly been able to latch onto that group. The only kind of thing I'm worried about still is obviously if we end up with a mechanical failure and Norris is able to try and make his way back towards the front of the order, that could really screw us. But if we can just try and control this race, I mean, like I said, Qatar last weekend, that might be our last win for Ferrari, but I'd love to win it here, just because then I know for sure it is our last win for Ferrari. But honestly, at this kind of race, with, you know, in a Ferrari car of all things, I genuinely get like a little bit of anxiety about being out in front here. The only race in recent memory where we've kind of had this little bit of a buffer that we've been able to control the pace, obviously, was Las Vegas. Now, if we do get a mechanical failure, it was already decided before we even started the race. The game basically pre-picks at the start of a weekend whether you're having a mechanical failure or not. Of course, you can hinder that as well by, you know, running an engine component up to 100% or something like that. That I don't think is going to be a risk to us. But at the moment, yeah, we're just trying to just keep everything in the happy window, not doing things like that. I'll just have a quick look at the tyre wear. It's actually even less than I thought it would be around a circuit. I've pressed the wrong button. That's good. Yeah, even lower than I thought it would be around this circuit. Only 17% wear by the time we cross over to the end of lap 10. So we're getting less than 2% a lap. That being said, though, I just want to try and keep the gap up over the McLarens, because I don't really want to risk a fight if I can avoid it. Leclerc and I came to blows here last season. I'd like to not make contact with anybody this time. Well, I mentioned it in Qatar. If McLaren, you know, potentially want to try and persuade me to join their team, then maybe working with me to try and defeat Red Bull was going to be the way to go at the end of this season.
Clear track in front of us, so let's make best use of it and make the next lap a quick one. You got this.
Well, not only are they helping me out tonight, but they're also making this race rather boring for us at the front of the order. I'm not going to complain about just being sat out in front at this stage of the day. But yeah, those McLarens have just been nose to tail right from the get-go, and often not even nose to tail, often side by side in this Grand Prix so far tonight. But it is just allowing us to build up a bit more of a buffer. We're already a half distance here. And say, a lot can still change in these final 14 laps. But if the second half is as calm as this first half, it's got to be one of the odder title deciders ever in Formula 1. But that being said, it has been such a weird season of up and down performance for various teams as well, that having an odd season finale really would kind of actually be not odd, all at the same time. Well, Abu Dhabi odd does always give you a chance to reflect as well about the season you've had, about the season other drivers have had, and yeah, often for us here, it is a bit more kind of a nostalgia trip as well. But actually, very rarely do we end up with a title fight that takes us right the way to the season end as well there. But one of the other drivers I'm thinking of has got to be Charles Leclerc. Finally, after almost 20 years of waiting, he guided Ferrari back to the top of the sport. Of course, you know, last season, admittedly, we were quite salty about that. Because, yeah, had we not had all the mechanical failures that we did, we had 3, I think 4 actually in the end. One of them came in a sprint race to Leclerc's none. And all the points I lost because of those versus all the points we gained, we would have beaten our teammates to the world title by just a single point come the end of the season. Now, of course, obviously things would have worked out differently, obviously when the pressure was on. But yeah, Leclerc ultimately, yeah, comfortably dominated that season. Now, he's had a bit more bad luck in terms of reliability than me this year, but not much more. And we've ended up opening the gap to him in the World Championship to comfortably over 100 points as well. 2 wins for our teammate. One of those came back in the season opener, and I really did think after that that it was going to be another world title battling it out with Charles Leclerc. He finally got back to the top step of the podium in Las Vegas, which by the end of the season might still have proved very, very useful, depending on how things continue to go here. But yeah, for Charles Leclerc, kind of the fact that he's finally got Ferrari, that dream, that return to the top, and almost, well, 1 season later, all the rumours are saying that he's likely going to be leaving the team come the end of the year, really does make you wonder. That's not what I wanted to do. Luckily, we have got that bit of a buffer over those McLarens as we'll get back running again. I guess Russell and Norris now are battling for the win. We're still in P3. We can still try and get back to the front, but I guess we've got some cars to battle with here, and hopefully I don't make another mistake. Well, this is what McLaren have basically been doing all day long. Lando Norris gets right under the rear wing of his teammate George Russell, and as we make our way then out onto the second of the back straights, I think he's going to try and get the run then. Can we do what we did earlier on in the GP and maybe get the spring on the pair of them here. As you can see, Norris again just trying to save a little bit of battery. Whoa, thinks about it against his teammate. We took a bit of a risk there to try and go down the inside of the pair of them. But again, we will return to the front of the order. I kind of feel sorry for George Russell. If I didn't think I was leaving Ferrari at the end of the year, I might allow him to win this, but I would like to hopefully celebrate this as our last ever Ferrari win in F1 24. Your mind does tend to wander in races like this, and I can't help but feel as well, you know, F1 24, obviously, you know, like I've said, this isn't going to be the last season of career mode. We are going to try and get a few more seasons done. I've still got a few more things I want to achieve inside this series, but this game as well, I know for a lot of people, has just not been that interesting. Hopefully, you know, if the real life season can continue to be exciting right towards the end, maybe that'll pick up a bit of interest again. But yeah, I really hope EA and Coders make some big alterations ready for F1 25. If this ends up being the one season we actually fight for the world title, then yeah, I can be pretty happy with how we've driven. But F1 24 still has, yeah, been a rough customer so far throughout most of this year. And of course, I'm still happy. You know, I still find the game enjoyable enough to play, but it is still some of the weird little things as well, like the battery usage for the AI. How badly optimized still is their battery usage? Because it feels like, you know, around a track like this, again, I know we've got a bit of a power advantage anyway over the rest of the field, but the fact that those McLaren cars are quicker than me normally, but obviously if I just use my battery in the right places for a couple of laps, they've got nothing, still just feels very, very odd. Well, as we round our way then towards the end of lap 27, this is an important lap for us in this Grand Prix, because I believe, I'm pretty certain, if we can get to the checkered flag now, we can't get, sorry, we can get to the end of this lap even, we cannot get a mechanical failure between now and the end of this race. I honestly haven't marked. Two drivers that have, though, have got to be those McLarens. They have shredded their tyres, and now we're just starting to inch away once again. But 2 laps to go here in Abu Dhabi, and I tell you what, like I said, this has been an odd little race, but it's been an odd little season as well. Like I said, we thought early on Leclerc would be the World Championship threat once again. He took that win in round 1, and then really after that, Ferrari, we looked comfortable at the front of the order, but our teammate just could not string it together again. He hung on to P2 in the championship for quite a while, helped of course by Verstappen's double DNF in the opening 3GP of the year as well. So Verstappen, to even bring it back to a title decider in this season finale, goes to show just the grit and determination of the Dutchman there. You know, Haas, early on in the campaign, they looked like they could be a threat. I really did think after the kind of the summer stretch that Alonso was going to be one of the ones battling for the World Championship, and even Lando Norris, who strung together a couple of wins later on in the campaign as well. It has been such a topsy-turvy season of drivers taking points out of each other that consistency has really made the difference when all is said and done. As we round the corner to start the last lap of the season, I must admit, I'm a little bit gutted that we couldn't wrap this up last year. I was hoping we would be the one to bring glory back to Maranello, but for Ferrari, we've made it back-to-back Constructors' World Championships. Mark, please let me have the moment. We've made it back-to-back Constructors' World Championships, and it looks like both the Ferrari's drivers over the last couple of years are gonna make it back-to-back Drivers' World Championships as well. Almost what they were able to do between 2007 and 2008 when they last won the crown in Formula 1. As we make our way, though, up the back straight, there is no team more special than Ferrari. There is no team greater than the one in red. We've still yet to win in front of the Tifosi inside this game, but ultimately, we won the Monaco Grand Prix, we won the British Grand Prix. Those were the other two big ones that we wanted to try and claim this season. We finally broke our curse at Monaco after the disappointment in last campaign as well. And as we round our way through the final couple of corners here in Abu Dhabi, ultimately, we could have had a mechanical failure this weekend. Verstappen and Red Bull, they have not had the pace to match us Consistency has been the Dutchman's strong point once again, but he is still human. He can't always give that team superhuman races, but through the final corner, a little bit nervy in these last few rounds, it is going to be glory for Ferrari. Grazie ragazzi.
Yes!
And well earned they are indeed. It may have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level, at the very top, is anything but simple. There's no catching them now then. We have a new World Drivers' Champion. Victory today then, but bittersweet emotions I'm sure, as the championship slips through their fingers. Even so, what a fantastic final race of the season this was.
And 3 wins in a row now, of course, thrown the gauntlet down. The drivers are out there now. They realise that they are the target. They're the ones to beat. They've got the energy, they've got the momentum on their side.
Ferrari are at it again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
Well, for the second weekend in a row then, it is a British 1-2-3 on the podium. And I tell you what, McLaren, they certainly are going to be in that fight next year. But we've done it. We are officially Formula 1 World Champion in F1 24 there. A 35-point buffer over Verstappen. At the end of the day, I'm quite happy we got it back over the 25-point threshold there, because that means the argument that he had one more mechanical failure than us means absolutely nothing by the end of the year. Alonso, like I said, I really did think he'd be a championship threat in the end, but ultimately didn't quite have the consistency in that Aston Martin team. But 4 drivers for 4 different teams finishing inside your top 4 come the end of the year. I could not tell you when that last happened in Formula 1. Maybe 1982? I might even be wrong there. Someone has got to let me know down in the comments below. Norris finishes the year in 4th ahead of Charles Leclerc. Stroll gets over the 200-point bump in P6 ahead of Russell. Perez actually re-jumped both Mercedes in that finale there, as Hamilton beats out Piastri by just 1 single point. Hülkenberg beats out his teammate in Pierre Gasly in the end, with Ocon ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, with both V-Carbs, both Williams, and both Kick Saubers rounding out your championship. Just Fred Vesti, who was the only driver not to score a point all year. Constructors-wise, Ferrari, we had a 120-point buffer come the end of the year ahead of Aston Martin. McLaren thrashed Red Bull in that finale as well to lock down P3. Mercedes in 5th ahead of Haas, Alpine, V-Carb, Williams, and yeah, Kick Sauber at the bottom of the order. Every team scored points this season, though, which I believe is the first time since Season 1 that has happened inside this game as well there. But thank you to everybody who continues to watch and enjoy this series as well, for their ever-continued support on the channel. It really does mean the world to me. We will be back very soon with Season 5 of this career mode, and even right now, I don't know what's going to happen next.